Hi. Did you hear that loud slam?
Yeah. Is that your cat?
Yeah, they're going wild. Just ran into a door. Just like straight into a door.
Wait, also, are you seeing this? It says that I'm Allie, and then
could y'all change your names? I think it's because it's using the link. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. I think Lizzie joined too. Let's see.
I had a law clerk do that where like I had a meeting for like a webinar. So I do think it is the link because like they would a couple times I had law clerks join from my link and it was said they were me. And I was like, that's weird, guys. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Have you been here for a while? I was in the Zoom link from the calendar event. Okay.
No, I just got here. I was trying to make some last minute edits to links on the presentation. Um yeah, and my cats are running into doors right now, so it's they're being a little chaotic. How are y'all feeling? Okay. Well, we've got 4 minutes.
wait, just real quick question. For shaping your message, that's just like pointers about what people should either think about or just keep in mind, to help them shape their message for testifying or like emails and stuff.
Could you repeat your question? I'm sorry,
I was just asking if the bullet points are like just pointers or stuff to keep in mind. As okay.
yeah. Yeah. Just like guides to help us read too. Okay, we've got 4 people in the waiting room. We've got Darcy, Sarah Cruz, Bob Reeves, and Tommy B.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to try to share my screen, but I'm glad I did because it says I can't.
I will make you a co-host.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome. Lizzie, how are you feeling?
Okay. I've been home in bed with my heating pad since our meeting.
Does that look right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to have this open when everyone comes in, or you want me to stop and then start it later as we get ready?
I think it's fine to have that on. What do y'all think? Okay.
Okay, cool. I'll just leave it here then.
I don't know if I didn't fully update the timeline, the run of show. Um, but I think it's mostly there. And I think we can feel it out as we go too.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the slide number 27, let's look online with Find Your Senator.
Mhm.
Do we want to drop those links in the chat or go over it at all, or just kind of briefly touch on it?
I don't think we'll have time to go through
Yeah.
that and like to screen share through that. I think we could I was hoping to say like we have these links in here and we'll share out the presentation tomorrow morning so that tomorrow morning beforehand I can quickly make sure everything's just double check that all the links are updated. Um, how does that sound? Just saying like we'll have these here. Okay. I feel definitely less prepared than previous CBWs. But I'm happy to do this alongside you.
It's okay. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
We've done this so many times, like collectively and recently, and we're good to go.
Yeah. Okay, it's 5:31. All Latin participants. We've got 9 in the waiting room. Okay. Hello. Hey y'all, thanks so much for being here. We're just gonna wait another minute or so to let folks trickle in. I'm really glad y'all are here. Happy Tuesday.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hopefully more people will join us, but we'll get started because we have a busy agenda today. So welcome to a Housing Advocates Guide to the Legislative Session with Collective Impact Lincoln. My name is Clarissa Guzman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am community organizer for Collective Impact Lincoln. Next slide. Yes. So before we get started, we did want to go over kind of like the learnings for tonight, just so you have a quick idea of what we'll talk about. So one of them being the overview of housing bills, what housing bills have been introduced this legislative session, as well as we'll have some time to answer any questions that y'all may have. We will go over the legislative timeline, what that looks like going forward. It is a 90-day legislative session, so we'll go over what that means as well. And then we'll also go over how to contact your senators as well as how to testify. And we'll talk briefly also about what it means to share the load, since we all know that this is a team effort and everyone kind of shares what they can. And yeah. So, and then at the end of the presentation, hopefully we'll have some time to also answer any other questions that y'all may have. So just a little background information for those who may or may not know, Collective Impact Lincoln is a partnership between Civic Nebraska and Nebraska Appleseed. So we do a lot of like supporting neighborhood community conversations, as well as leadership opportunities and other opportunities that help create more of an inclusive place to live in. And we value resident-led change. So a little bit about what we do is like deep canvassing, make sure that we listen to other residents and kind of support neighborhood projects, just making sure that community members are able to see the change that supporting neighbors see the change that they want to see in their own community. So we do work in 6 core neighborhoods, which include Hartley, University Place, Belmont and Clinton neighborhoods, as well as Everett and near South. And along with that and how that how our work relates to housing bills. We do a lot of research policy, so we can be able to advocate as a community for systemic change. And so before we get started on the nitty-gritty, it is important to create community within our circle right now. So we'll start off by getting to know one another. So sharing our names, pronouns, as well as what communities we're a part of or connected with. You can take that question however you'd like. And as well as an icebreaker of what is your go-to karaoke song. And so Ali in a second will break us out into breakout rooms so we can have some time to get to know one another. At least make one new friend today.
Thanks, Clarissa. Okay, oh, we just got Alan in the room. Okay, hi Alan. I'm gonna send you right into a breakout room. So glad you're here. Hope this isn't disorienting, but you'll get to meet some lovely people. Okay. Hi Elsie. We just started breakout rooms. I think I'll send you with a lovely group of people. Okay. So if you click on that link, we're gonna do some quick introductions, just sharing. Welcome back to the main room. I feel like I've had my thoughts on karaoke change a little bit. I feel like I'm turning back around to it. Maybe I should give it another shot. So we had a really nice discussion.
Get it, Toot. I see those dance moves.
I'm just happy to see everyone. Hi, everyone.
Feel free to share your go-to karaoke song if you'd like in the chat as everyone's coming in.
All right, I'll go since nobody said anything. 24 Karat Magic, Bruno Mars. If you want to sing it with me sometime, we'll do it together. All right, that's it.
That's a solid karaoke song.
Awesome. Thanks everyone. Please keep sharing those go-to karaoke songs in the chat if you have more or have ideas, because I don't have a go-to karaoke song. So if you have one that you think, Casey, that is exactly up your alley, feel free to send that my way. Okay, so housing bills. It's always something, Fallout Boy Lizzie. Yes, thank you for knowing me for real. Okay, housing bills. We have a lot of them to discuss, so I'm gonna do my best to get through them. We're gonna start with a couple of bigger, not bigger, but just like ones that CIL is really prioritizing this session, and then move on to, there are a lot of housing related bills this session, so a lot of ones that we'll go over kind of quickly a little later on. So we'll start here. This is the list of ones that we're really focusing on, particularly the first two within CIL. The LB 248 prohibiting source of income discrimination, and LB 8 changes to the Mobile Home Landlord Tenant Act. And then other ones I thought this group might particularly be interested in is the LB 175, which is the Residential Clean Slate Act, and LB 187, which provides a right to counsel in eviction court in Lancaster and Douglas counties. So we'll start with LB 248. This is the source of income anti-discrimination ordinance. So LB 248 would ensure that those with housing vouchers and other forms of housing assistance are able to use that housing assistance by requiring landlords to accept any legal source of income. Tenants are often unable to use these sources of income because as the law currently stands, landlords are able to say, no, we won't accept that form of payment, that type of income that you have. And we know that in Lincoln and nationally, at least 20% of people who have housing vouchers are unable to use them because so few landlords accept them. So housing choice vouchers are a critical tool in helping low-income families establish stability and escape the cycle of poverty, but there's no protection for them right now in Nebraska. And so that's why we're advocating for LB 248. So a couple of other important points about this is that source of income discrimination isn't just used against recipients of public housing. It's mostly, you might hear that spoken about a lot, Section 8 recipients of public housing or housing choice vouchers, but it also is used to deny people who use income like Social Security or disability or Veterans Affairs, supportive housing vouchers, or even single moms who rely on child support. And unfortunately, source of income discrimination is often a front for more insidious types of racial discrimination, and that has a disproportionate impact on Black and Latino renters. So new this year, this bill has been introduced a couple of times, and new this year is the landlord guarantee program. A lot of landlords oppose this bill because they say tenants who use housing assistance will leave the unit in poor condition, and then the landlord has no recourse against them because they don't have sufficient income. So this landlord guarantee program is meant to supplement any damages, any other funds that might become necessary as a result of a tenant moving out who's used housing assistance. So it creates a $50,000 fund to cover the cost of unpaid rent or damages, and the landlord has to apply to the fund and prove a few different things, and then those grants to the landlords are capped at $5,000 per landlord per year. So yeah, that's LB 248. We will have time, we should have time at the end for questions, but if you have questions throughout, you can pop them in the chat or raise your hand as well. But otherwise I'll keep going at a pretty good pace. So, but don't feel free to, interrupt, raise your hand. So the next one is LB 8, which changes provisions of the Mobile Home Landlord Tenant Act. And here's some more information about the bill. It does a lot of different things to the Mobile Home Landlord Tenant Act. So it clarifies that you can get reasonable attorney fees if you have to go to court. It defines what a reasonable rule or regulation is for a mobile home park. We've heard of instances where the issue is that there's a sudden rule change within the mobile home park, and tenants don't have sufficient time to come into compliance, or it might be sort of unreasonable. It also protects a mobile home owner's right to sell their mobile home. The landlord has to approve. Typically how it works now is the landlord has to approve a new prospective owner of the mobile home if the mobile home owner wants to sell. So this says that landlords can only refuse that when it's reasonable. Then it also limits the instances in which the owner of a mobile home park can terminate a tenancy, and creates a scheme for the treatment of abandoned mobile home parks, or mobile homes, excuse me. We know right now a lot of what happens is mobile home tenants get evicted, and then the mobile home itself is claimed as abandoned property that the landlord claims and resells and turns over. And so this scheme creates a scheme where the owner of the mobile home is able to recoup some of the cost of or any value that is left over after the sale of the mobile home. And I just wanted to point out LB 643. I don't have a separate slide on it, but LB 643 is sort of does the opposite of that scheme with abandoned mobile homes. It says essentially that it codifies what's happening in practice. So what's happening in practice is that landlords claim the mobile home as their own and then sell it and recoup any costs, any proceeds from the sale. And LB 643 makes that, sort of codifies that into the law, and says that mobile home park owners are able to do that with a mobile home. So that's one that we will be opposing, and just wanted to flag that for people as well. And I'm going to pause real quick because I see Ellen has a question from the last bill. Does the guarantee program require the landlord to waive actions for damages and agree to not send the tenant to collections? No, Alan, it does not. It does not do that. Good question though. LB 175 is next. This is the Residential Tenant Clean Slate Act, and this seals eviction filings from public record. So as the law exists now, certain entities and you yourself could go look and see whether people have been involved in certain court cases, and an eviction filing can show up and an eviction judgment can show up as well. This would seal that record from public view if the case is dismissed, so that would mean the case was filed, but there was never any judgment against the tenant. If the order of restitution is either reversed or vacated, that means there has been an eviction, but later that eviction is overturned or sort of erased. And then 3, if the writ of restitution never issues or is never executed. So that's also sort of, maybe there was a judgment, but the sheriff never had to go and remove a person. And then in all other cases, so if there is an eviction and the person is removed, if it's been 3 years, they can apply to have the record sealed. So yeah, that's the Tenant Clean Slate Act. And then LB 187, which requires the appointment of counsel for tenants. So this is the right to counsel. This bill's also been introduced before, but sort of new is that it's limited this year to Lancaster and Douglas counties. So it provides a right to counsel. It says that the cost of the counsel has to be paid for by the county, and it includes notice of the right to counsel in the summons. So when you first get the paper from the court saying you need to come to eviction court, it lets you know, it would let you know also that you have a right to counsel in that case. And so it helps initiate that process.
Which counties was that?
Lancaster and Douglas. Which I think that's a good question. I think Lancaster and Douglas make up well over half of most of the eviction filings in the state. So I think that might be part of the consideration at this point of the right to counsel. Okay, these are other housing bills. I'm going to try to be as quick with these as I can because there are a lot. But as you can see, there's plenty here, and I'll go over them in a bit more detail as we go through. Okay, LB 182, this is about the reporting requirements. So there's a report that the Supreme Court has to produce, I think every 6 months, about evictions in the state, how many there are, whether tenants are represented, whether landlords are represented by attorneys, things of that nature, just detailing out some basic sort of statistics about evictions. The Supreme Court's struggling to produce that report. And so I think this clarifies a few things to help make it easier for that report to be produced by the Supreme Court. LB 270, this is the Landlord Tenant Act and rental. Oh, yes. Okay. This is the rental registration ordinance, where if this bill, what it would do is it requires landlords to be in compliance with any rental registration ordinance before they can evict their tenants. And then it also requires cities to notify residents of any defects that they find through any inspections. And if the city intends to condemn a property, it first has to have a plan of meeting with the residents, supporting them with housing, transportation, food, moving expenses, and any legal services. That the city needs to have a plan for that before they can condemn the property. The Reentry Housing Network Act, this one's interesting. It creates a reentry housing committee for folks reentering society after they've been incarcerated. And it basically creates this commission that helps monitor housing conditions of reentrants, conduct inspections, and then it also provides that the commission or the committee could pay stipends to individuals to help with housing and things of that nature, and also to create a report about the conditions of housing for folks, for reentrants specifically. LB 389, This is an interesting bill about tax increment financing. This bill would restrict the use of TIF by only allowing it to be used for a specific parcel of land once every 50 years. I have this one as frequency because there's another TIF restriction bill here in a second, but I think we'll get to that in a minute. This bill I included, it's an interesting bill that would change Nebraska Housing Agency Act to specifically require 2 recipients of the Omaha Housing Authority's programs to be on their commission, and that those 2 commissioners would be selected by a general election of all beneficiaries from OHA. Elsie, that's a good question. She asks about the ability to add SARPI to the requirement of counsel for right to counsel in eviction court. I think that's a great question. I don't know the answer to it. I think Senator John Kavanaugh is the senator who introduced that bill. And I would certainly encourage you to reach out and see if, ask him that question, see if he has a response for it. But it's a great question. Bethany, that's also a good question. Are we in support of these bills? I think we are definitely in support of the source of income anti-discrimination bill and the mobile home landlord tenant bill. We have been in support of most of these, but don't the sort of extent of our support, there may not be much that we offer in the legislative session on some of these other bills. I think some of these are things that I thought that you all might find interesting and worth weighing in on yourself. And thank you, Allie, for that. I think we've got just a few more. This one changes a few technical requirements to eviction proceedings, which basically give tenants a bit more time to move out if there's going to be an eviction order, and perhaps a bit more time for the eviction trial. This is LB 545. LB 715. This one's, as I'm sure you all know, the Governor Ricketts refused to apply for the second round of emergency rental assistance. And this bill would require the Governor Pillen to apply and receive some of those funds. And then the other TIF bill. This one would limit TIF so that if there was going to be a project using over $20 million or more of TIF funding, that would require a vote of the people of the subdivision, the city, or whatever it is that's proposing that $20 million TIF project. And then I think this might be our last one. LB 747 provides an income tax credit for renters. It's a refundable tax credit, and renters would receive the greater of $200 or 4% of their yearly rent, but not to exceed $1,000. So I know that was a lot. Thank you for asking questions throughout. If you have any other questions now, I think we can pause for a few minutes to answer those. Yes, Tommy.
Yeah, so those first is there any like order of precedence when it comes to like the bills that you just went through? Like those first ones, were those like kind of the more important ones, and then the second round, was that like kind of your tier 2 bills, or is there a pattern there?
Great question. I think so. Definitely the first 2 ones, the source of income and anti-discrimination bill, and the mobile home update to the Mobile Home Landlord Tenant Act. Those are ones that CIL is definitely supporting and we'll be doing a lot of support on this session. The rest, honestly, were just bills that I thought this group might be interested in, not in any particular order, but just ones that I thought might be most interesting. I put in that first group. I think there were four in that first group, and then the rest were ones that I still thought you
Do
all
you,
might find interesting.
yeah, do you know if all of these bills are going to the Judiciary Committee or?
I think the vast majority of them are.
Mhm. Okay.
I don't know if all of them though.
Last question for now. Does anybody recall, does a 4-4 vote get bills out of committee, or do they stay stuck in committee if it's a 4-4 vote?
I don't recall for certain. My gut is telling me that would stay in committee.
Anybody know that information? Well, I guess since she's running for Lincoln City Mayor, you might be interested in Susan Geist, since she's on Judiciary Committee and she is in Lancaster County, so she might be your 5th vote. Oh yeah, Andrew, the question was, does a 4-4 vote get a bill out of committee?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I'm a lobbyist, so I can definitely follow up with you.
It's okay. Yeah, I can't recall, to be honest. Like, most of the bills I try to support always die in committee. So, Lori says 4-4 stays in committee, but I mean, there's some hope because the Judiciary Chair is Wayne, and then yeah, Geist she wants to be mayor of the second biggest city in the state. So I think you might have some sympathy there. But yeah, I'll get off the mic now.
I just from long ago memory, I think if it's a tie vote, it doesn't get out of committee. That's what I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you're right, Bob. Any other questions before we move on? Sorry that was a bit of a whirlwind. Okay. Oh, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
On that first bill, does it have anything that makes it clear what it means when a landlord says they will accept vouchers? There's apparently a form of discrimination in which a landlord says they will accept vouchers, but then they set the price of the apartment so high that it won't qualify for the subsidy. And so then they can say, we're doing it, and yet they still don't have to rent to them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Bob. That definitely is true, that when you're using, for example, a Section 8 voucher, it has to fall within a certain rent range, and landlords could still price their units out of that range, and then the voucher holder wouldn't be eligible to use the voucher for that unit because it costs too much. There's nothing in that bill that I know of that would be able to that would prohibit that from happening. But there is some truth in the market will only support so much of an increase, so there will still be, and this rent range gets updated annually as well, so it changes sort of as rents change as well. So
something to know, I'm not sure if this is the case for all vouchers, but like you can't, like landlords couldn't just, if they set it, say the limit is $500, if they set the rent at $501, most voucher programs will still give the individual $500, and then they're responsible for paying the excess. And so you can still get in, but you just might have to pay a little bit more out of pocket.
Yeah, that's also a great point, Reed. There is a range, and the tenant is allowed to go over, with Section 8 in particular, to go over the rent range within a certain amount, and but they are responsible for that extra cost. Okay, thanks everyone. I will keep us moving then.
Hey, thank you, Casey, and thank you everyone for those wonderful questions. I always love learning from other folks in the room because we all have these little bits of knowledge, and it's really nice to be able to learn from each other and share. So I don't think I'm alone in losing track of time. I think that timelines help me stay a little bit grounded, or at least understanding where we are in the process and why we're talking about this now. So the legislature runs on a biennium, so it's 2 years. And right now we're in the first year of that biennium, so we have a longer session. So we're running from January through June. We started on January 4th. And now we're 20 days later, which is wild. So we're going to talk a little bit about the legislative process and how to stay up to date, because it can be a little bit difficult to navigate the legislative session when it runs so quickly. So there is on the left side a picture of how a bill gets through the legislature. First, in the first 10 days of the session, bills are introduced. And so we just finished that last week, and now bills are being assigned to a committee and given a hearing date. And so in that committee, many of our housing bills are in judiciary. We will mark in the updated slides, which we will send out tomorrow, which committee each bill is assigned to. But in that committee, the committee can take a few actions on a bill. They can send it to the next step, general file. They can indefinitely postpone or kill the bill, or they could take no action. If it's sent to general file, that's when the whole legislature gets to debate. It requires 25 votes to adopt amendments, and then it moves to E&R, which is enrollment and review. I actually just learned what that was because I've heard about it just quickly, but at E&R is where amendments are incorporated into the bills, and it's checked for grammatical and technical accuracy. So just make sure that everything's running smoothly. And so from general file, it can move to select file where there's more debate and amendments, and then it gets sent to E&R again for those checks. And then it can get sent to final reading where there's no more debates or amendments here. But if senators want more amendments or to talk more about this, they can send it back to select file. Thank you, Lizzie, for the time check. And then after, so at final reading, senators can take a vote. Then it goes to the governor's office. The governor can sign the bill into law. They can take no action, which it still becomes law. It's just a way for the governor to allow it to become law without making a big deal about it, or maybe taking on that personal responsibility or really opinion on it, or they can veto it. If it's vetoed, the legislature can override it with 30 votes. And then most bills become law 3 months after the legislature adjourns, so 3 months after June. Unless there is an emergency clause, which can speed that process up. And I think Lizzie's gonna share.
Yes. Yeah. So wanted to share some resources here for you to stay up to date with what's going on in the legislature. We shared all those bill numbers with you, which you can look online at nebraskalegislature.gov and look up the bills, find out information about the hearings. Sorry, that link's not here right now, but if you're interested in watching one of the hearings and you aren't able to go to the Capitol for whatever reason, if you're at work or out of town, you can watch the hearings at this link here. So that's pretty handy if you're curious what's going on but don't want to make the trip. Also below are some really great organizations that send out good updates on what's happening in the legislative session. I'm sure some of y'all know more too, which you can throw in the chat. I know I'm a big fan of IB Black Girls legislative update. They don't do housing specific, but they talk about maternal wellness bills, specifically impacting Black women. As well as abortion issues, which is something I care a lot about. So there might be something that really appeals to you that you can check out more of and sign up for their newsletters if you'd like. The Collective Impact Lincoln newsletter sometimes includes information on that, as well as Nebraska Appleseed and Civic Nebraskas. Next slide, please.
Lizzie, wait, about the videos, jot this down. The Nebraska Legislative Study Group's YouTube page is now the main repository of hearing recordings because the state isn't doing it. So we are doing it, and we finally have a good system that like nearly all the hearings are getting put up there. So on their
Thank you, Karina.
the YouTube page will have them all.
Thank you. And then a few more resources. You can look online to find your senator at this link here. You can search for bills. This is the Nebraska Legislature.gov website I just referenced. And then you can also use this bill tracker site to see the status of different bills. That's all for me.
Thanks, Lizzie, and thank you, Karina, for that suggestion. We will add that to the updated slides tomorrow. I feel like we always have more to add when we send the slides out, and so thank you so much. So there are there are so many ways to advocate for change in our communities, both in and out of the legislature. In the legislature, there are three main ways to share your opinions on bills with senators in the ways that they expect, and that's to submit your comments online, email your senator, or testify in person. There is a new ADA option for testifying in person, and that will be linked to. It's through, you have to apply for that. And so, Casey, could you please? Yay, thank you. So for submitting online comments, there have been a few changes since COVID. It feels like it's changed a little bit each year since 2020. Hopefully it'll settle down a little bit while maintaining accessibility. Right now for submitting comments online, once a bill has a hearing set, there will be an option to submit an online comment, which will be included in the hearing record. So if you're looking for a bill that doesn't yet have a hearing, this option won't show up, but once it has a hearing, it will show up. And we have links too with more information on the legislature's website, so you can look more. And so there's a word limit of 500, and they are due by noon the day before the hearing. So both of those are the same as last year. So it's pretty similar to last year. It just shows up in two different places. So you can look at this week's scheduled hearings, and it will have each bill, and then under each bill it'll have a link to click to add comment, or you can go directly to the bill by looking up LB8, for example. It will have on the bill page a link to submit online comments. Online comments will be included in the hearing record. And so the only ways to include your comment in the record are either through submitting an online comment through the portal or testifying in person or through the ADA option. If we move on to the next slide, to email your senator. This is a great way to contact your senator, or maybe a senator who does not represent your district, but you want to reach on a specific bill. Emails do not get included in the public record. So if you want your statement to be in the public record, viewable by others, and to have that sort of permanence, the emails are not going to do that, but you can reach your senator directly, because senators are people and they're not always predictable. Some of them read the online comments more than others. Some of them pay more attention to their email inbox or maybe their phones and what they're hearing from their aides. Really, whatever you do, however you share your voice, that is so valuable. And this is one option. And so you can find the legislative roster for committees on this slide. We've linked it so you can see, oh, these are the folks in judiciary. I can email these folks. And you're not limited to a word count. So you can say whatever you'd like, which is nice. And then Casey, thank you. So then there's another option to testify in person. And so you have 3 to 5 minutes to speak, depending on the committee. This is, for me, probably the most intimidating option. So I tend to lean towards the not in person, submitting online comments or letters. But I know there are a lot of folks in this room who have like very powerful in-person testimony, and who I look up to a lot.
As recently as yesterday.
I know, Karina, I was thinking about you. I was like, I want to be more like Karina. And so sometimes senators will ask you questions. They're not always relevant. Sometimes they're just kind of harsh and intimidating, but you can always just say, I'm not sure, or can I get back to you later on that? You're under no obligation to answer their questions. You sharing your voice there is enough, and that is fantastic. And I will add to these slides the option, the ADA option, because there is a way, if you can't make it in person, that you can share written testimony. You just have to adhere to some strict guidelines. And so we will share that in the slides tomorrow.
Thank you, Allie. Yes, Elsie, to answer your question, or at least part of your question, these are some tips or like a couple of pointers that we kind of thought of for if you want to testify or also reach out to your senator and also committees. One of the pointers is that we are the experts in our own experiences. So keeping that in mind in whatever message we want to send to our senators, of asking ourselves the question of what do we know that we want senators to know or the committees to know, just because we all come from different backgrounds, different experiences. And I think sometimes shedding light on our own experiences can provide that additional, background for specific bills, or why is it that we are advocating for certain things. And another pointer is to, if you find sources and use resources to kind of advocate or write emails, we do encourage you to use your own words, just because that sometimes is a little more valuable than just possibly like copying and pasting like quotes or anything like that. Kind of letting senators know like your take or interpretation on things would be nice. And then also explaining the importance of a bill, kind of like the importance of, or the impact that it has on you or people you may know, or even like your community, just so they have, again, like the extra background on how this bill is actually impacting the community and stuff like that. And then we also have that you don't need to know all the details of how a bill will work in the future when you testify or like want to speak up on it or like comment on it. I think whatever you say or bring to the table is very valuable because you are a community member and an advocate, of course. And then just keeping in mind that bills are revised so often to make them work better for us, or if they don't work, making sure that they are revised. So like speaking on the nuances of bills and how certain parts of bills can affect you or your community is equally as important as well. And lastly, I know we mentioned this earlier, and I think we try to emphasize it. Policy progress is a team effort, so it takes all of us. And it's important to kind of keep in mind that senators and committees all work for us, not the other way around. So there is so much value in speaking up, using our voices and experiences to make the difference within like policy and the legislative section and stuff. And if you want to learn more about this, there is a YouTube video that you can learn more from, how to like submit written testimony and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Clarissa.
You can also like text me if you're sitting in the hearing room and freaking out about giving testimony. Yeah.
Yeah, I just exclamation mark behind that. There's so much that we can learn from each other because we're all in different stages of doing this stuff, and something that we ask ourselves a lot and we talk about with others in our communities is what's enough, right? Like I think there can be a question of, are we doing enough? And really, I think yes, you are all doing enough. We're making change in different parts of the social change ecosystem, both in and outside of institutions. And when we do this together, we can really share the load and we can lean on each other. We all have so much to offer and to share. We all have different bundles of knowledge and experience. And especially when we're doing this outside of our 9-to-5 jobs, of the responsibilities that we have, being able to share the load and start small, and really listen to what's calling us and what brings us joy, that is so valuable and so important. I hope that I'm so thankful to be in community with you all, and I hope that we can tend to ourselves, and so starting small, gathering with the folks in our circles, sharing information like we're sharing right now. We're already doing it. We're already getting there, and together we can encourage each other and hold each other accountable, whatever that looks like to you. And so I have learned so much from Karina, and I think that and like renters together about how folks can gather and share skills and take on different responsibilities to engage in the legislative process, whether that's collaborating on writing letters, sharing information. When we used to hand deliver letters to the legislature, there's so many different ways that we can work together. And we're running low on time, and I want to save room for questions at the end, but we are always happy to meet and to chat about what this can look like together.
Yes, and with that, we just wanted to let y'all know to be on the lookout for, we are trying to do housing tea times, which will be a time to learn together about like housing policy, or even how to advocate during the legislative session on housing bills, as well as Skillshare, which we have been doing a lot of today in this workshop. and of course build community, trying to get together to advocate for the change that we do want to see. So there will be more information to come soon, but be on the lookout. Yeah, and with that, thank you, everyone. We will have a couple of minutes to answer any questions, but feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or also if you want to learn more about Collective Impact Lincoln, there's a link as well. So with that, any questions?
I just want to take a sec to uplift Chelsea's post in the chat. I'm so excited for the Housing Advocates potluck. It's a wonderful space to get together with other housing advocates. And the next one is on February 7th from 6 to 7:30 at Bennett Martin Library. Yes, oh wait, Chelsea, is that right? I was reading the chat, but I saw your facial expression.
Oh, I just didn't mention anything about the potluck. Lizzie did.
It was me.
Sorry. So that's why I was confused. I'm like, did I do a thing? But yeah, I was just going to add the flyer into the chat. So, but yes, February 7th, Ben Martin Library, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Folks don't have to worry about bringing a dish. That there shouldn't be a prevent anyone from coming. And there will be plenty of food. There was lots of great food last time and lots of familiar faces from this group. So yeah, we look forward to anyone being able to join us at that time and continuing our ability to, one, form connections with each other. It's going to take collective power for us to get out of this housing crisis together. And then, yeah, also for us to spend some time figuring out how we can use our strengths to do just that. But yeah, I'm gonna find the flyer one of these moments. Okay.
We can share that out also with the slides tomorrow too.
We also have a listserv if folks are not on that listserv and they would like to be on that Lincoln Housing Advocate listserv. Yeah, feel free to email me. My email's on that, or you can put it in the chat and I can pop you into our listserv. Yeah, but really appreciate this. Thank you so much, Collective Impact Lincoln team. I really, really value this space and learning together. Gotcha, Sam.
Well, thanks everyone. It was good seeing some friendly faces and some new faces. Hope to see some of y'all at the Capitol or at the potluck. That would be really fun. And I see Karina also came off mute, so I'll pass the mic to you.
No, I was just gonna say thanks for doing this. It's a lot, and we wouldn't be able to figure out what bills were what, like just by looking through the list of what 2000. So this work's really necessary. So thank you.
Is there any chance that you'll be sending out notifications when some of these bills get hearing dates?
I think, to be honest, we haven't done that in the past, but I think we could definitely do that. It might be easiest if you get in on the Lincoln Housing listserv that Chelsea mentioned, or there's a Nebraska wide one. If you're interested, you can email me. I'll put my name in the chat, or not my name, but my email address.
Yeah, I try to track some bills that I find interesting, and I missed every one of these bills because just staring at the list it's like a shotgun blast of information.
It is a lot. Yeah, absolutely. So I think those listservs are probably the easiest way to share information specifically about these housing bills out with you all.
And if there are other non-housing bills that you're really interested to, the bill tracker, which we've linked, and we can share more information about that will send you notifications to your inbox on when action is taken on a bill. So if like me, you're not watching the legislative session or because that takes a lot of time, it'll just send you notifications, which I found to be really helpful.
Wait, is that the one that's on the legislature website, or is it?
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
free
I see there.
version, and it allows you to track a certain number of bills. I can't remember the number on the top of my head, but it's always
15.
been enough, I think.
Oh, wow. Didn't know this was here.
Alan, I've been sharing your warning with people.
Yeah, that happened to me the other day, and I was pretty stunned. So
Alan, do you have any advice for us about that? If it sends a confirmation with the plain text password, I guess I'm not a really tech person, and I'm not sure what that means. Like, oh, strongnebraska.org. Oh, okay. You have a bill tracker too. Nice.
well, it means anybody can get access to your email account might be able to see your password. So if you're going to use one, don't use a password that you use for things. That's what I would suggest.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
or any sort of like system that you might have where you like little bit change your password, just to make it totally different.
Because it doesn't seem like it'd be a huge problem if someone got into your bill tracker. You just don't want them to get into your other stuff, right? That's the idea.
That's really good advice. I feel like I'm a serial password tweaker, so I really appreciate that.
Do you folks have any other questions for the group?
No, I just, for the comments, online comments, you know, they count how many they get. So even if you don't feel like you're going to be very articulate, like you can just write, like, I support this. And then at the hearing, they say how many comments they got on either side. So like quantity is better than withholding because you don't think you have anything like super clever to say. So good luck. Bye.
That's a really good point, Karina. Okay, should we maybe go off to the rest of our evenings? Okay, it was so good seeing y'all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll send the slides to you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
everyone. Bye.
Okay.